What do you think happens to you if he wins?
Well, I'm out of here. I mean, I'm already working on a foreign passport with a completely different name. I don't know how it's going to work as far as dealing with my wife and my children. I certainly don't want them moving to where I'm looking to go. But I don't think yourself, the president of MSNBC, General Milley, Liz Cheney, how many people has he turned around and said that these are people that I intend to go after if I have the ability to? And the worst is the Supreme Court's recent decision that gave him immunity, presidential immunity. Now he thinks it's not only is it I can do whatever I want, but I can't even be prosecuted. It's a get out of jail free card solely for the president.
So you're out of here. You'd leave the country.
I have no choice.
Unbelievable state of being. Michael Cohen,
I'll still be available to you, but by remote.
By encrypted remote. Thank you for spending time with us today.
It's always good to see you.
Somewhere. You've been right about everything.
Guys, so we got to talk about MSDNC, which is in full-blown Trump derangement mode over the fact that Kamala Harris seems to be losing endorsements, okay? She is turning off the centrist Democrats, if that's even a thing, because Kamala Harris has shown us once again that she is an extremist, especially on this issue of abortion, in which Democrats don't believe there is an extreme, right? This is why they refuse to say whether or not they believe in any limits for abortion. They rather just lie about what the Republicans want to do in regards to a national ban and to make up sad stop stories to get emotional and ignorant women on board with voting for Kamala Harris to do something that, quite honestly, it's just not going to happen, right? And this is something that Trump called Kamala Harris out on at the debate, in which he said, listen, you're not going to codify Roe v. Wade into law, right? It's just not going to happen. You're not going to have enough votes, which is true, okay? However, Kamala Harris has come out in response to this idea that you're not going to have the support, that you're promising to do something that you really can't do. And she's going to the extreme by saying, well, I'll get rid of the filibuster, right? She wants to carve out an exception to get rid of the filibuster in order to codify Roe v. Wade into law, okay? And this has pissed off some Democrats who, again, are more moderate, more centrist, because the filibuster was the key to keep the Democrats from doing even more extreme things than they already did throughout Biden's presidency, right? So you remember all the money they spent during the pandemic with the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? All these things led to higher inflation, right? It destroyed the country economically. The only reason it wasn't worse is because of Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema refusing to get rid of the filibuster despite massive Democrat pressure in order to prevent the Democrats from being so damn extreme, right? And those same Democrats have come out and now they are going off on Kamala Harris for her coming out and saying that she wants to get rid of the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade into law. Okay, in fact, it actually made Joe Manchin come out and basically say, I am never endorsing Kamala Harris because of this extremism that she went on record to say that she supports. Take a look.
I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe, and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
Let's bring in CNN's Priscilla Alvarez for us. Priscilla, this is not necessarily a new position for Kamala Harris.
No, it's not, Wolf, but it certainly tells us that she is going to double down on this message that Democrats think is the galvanizing one for voters, which is that she is the candidate that would protect reproductive rights. Now, in 2022, the vice president also said that she would support ending the filibuster to protect reproductive rights and voting rights. So this is an extension of that. This is something that we've also been hearing about a lot on the campaign trail. And of course, it's notable that this was with a radio in Wisconsin. This is an issue that she is hammering in that critical state. But as you just mentioned there, it lost her the endorsement of Senator Joe Manchin, who had this to say today.
Shame on her. Shame on her. She knows that the filibuster is the holy grail of democracy.
You're not going to endorse it?
I'm not endorsing them, no. I think that's basically something that can destroy our country, and my country is more important to me than any one person or any one person's ideology.
Now, defenders of the tool say that this forces consensus in the upper chamber, so some division over her comments today, but certainly the bottom line here is that the vice president is not shying away from this issue of reproductive rights and trying to convince voters that she will do anything if she were to get that or sign that legislation codifying Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, so this is extremely short-sighted to say the least, but not surprising because this is the strategy of the Democrat Party, right? Is to basically take advantage of people's ignorance. There are multiple problems with what Kamala Harris said, okay, in regards to getting rid of the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade into law. Again, the first issue is that it is extremely short-sighted, right? She knows that she has to convince the young 304s of America that she's actually going to do something about this issue, okay, even though she really can't do anything. But if she decides to say, hey, you know what, we're going to get rid of the filibuster in order to codify Roe v. Wade into law, all it takes is for the backlash that will happen to basically enable Republicans to win the Senate in the midterms in 2026. And then at that point, they can basically try to pass a national abortion ban, okay? That is the problem with getting rid of the filibuster, is that once you get rid of it, now you open up the door to wild swings in legislation based off who's in power, right? The filibuster is in place as a mechanism to cool down extremist legislation that comes from the House. So let's say, for example, some Democrat-controlled House passes a bill that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, insane. It goes to the Senate, okay? And instead of needing 51 votes to pass the bill, right? Instead, you're going to need 60 votes in order to overcome the filibuster, right? And that is there to make sure that the minority can actually have a say. So in the Senate, when you only need 51 votes in order to pass legislation, so you need just half of the chamber in order to pass legislation. If you only have 51 Democrat senators and all of them decide that, hey, we're extreme, okay, and we're going to get on board with this legislation, again, that allows the majority to essentially overrun the minority in this country, right? To ram extremist legislation down the country's throat that is not going to be in favor of the minority. Again, without the filibuster, Democrats likely could have passed more extreme legislation than they did under Joe Biden, right? This country would be in much worse shape, okay? So again, the filibuster is important to preserve, right? It's great for the minority, not so great for the majority, right? Everybody hates the filibuster when they're in power, right? Everybody hates it, but it's there for a reason. And Kamala Harris trying to get rid of it, promising to get rid of it, is very short-sighted and extremist, okay? Because even if she codifies Roe v. Wade into law, there's a very, very, very high chance that the Supreme Court will shoot it down, okay? Just like they would shoot down an abortion ban, a national abortion ban. And the abortion issue is a state's issue. I just wish that both parties on the extremes would accept that, hey, this is a state's issue, okay? If you want your abortions, you know, do what you got to do in your state to keep your abortions. If you want to ban abortions, do what you got to do in your state to ban the abortions. It's called democracy, right? But for whatever reason, Democrats hate democracy, right? They actually really hate it, okay, when people get to decide what they want, right? So again, it's just very fascinating because, again, you have Kamala Harris losing support over this extremist position. And again, this is a big deal because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, again, represent the sane Democrats, right? The centrists. And the centrists basically coming out and saying, hey, I'm not going to endorse you, basically is a slap in the face to Kamala Harris's centrist transformation, right? Because that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to sell herself as a centrist. But when you have centrist Democrats saying, nah, I don't support you, right? I'm not going to endorse you. That kind of makes it harder to sell yourself as a so-called centrist, right? So that is pissing off the Never Trumpers at MSNBC, so-called Republicans like Nicole Wallace. I'm not entirely sure if she still calls herself a Republican. Maybe she does, okay? If she does, I'm not entirely sure why, because there's no difference between her and a Democrat at this point. But she's pissed off at people like Joe Manchin and Mitt Romney who refuse to endorse Kamala Harris due to her extreme positions. Even though they're not endorsing Trump, She thinks that not only should they endorse Kamala Harris, but they should be campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris because Trump is dangerous. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I'm done with I'm not supporting Trump, but I mean, anyone who isn't supporting Trump, and I'll single out Mitt Romney, who's the subject of some lovely new writing and reporting by McKay Coppins, who tells a haunting story of how chilling it is that he will be targeted should Trump be reelected. I don't believe him, because if you're that haunted, if you find it chilling, you do the one thing that protects your wife. You want to be a protector, Mitt Romney? There's one way to protect your wife and your kids and your grandkids, because I believe he loves them, but I don't believe that he finds it chilling that Trump would pursue them and threaten them, because if he did, he wouldn't just endorse Kamala Harris. He'd call her and say, how can I help you? Because I am a protector. If you're Mitt Romney and you find it chilling that your kids and grandkids and your wife could be threatened by Donald Trump's second term, you do something. So I'm not saying that he can't be chilled, but if he is chilled and frightened, he would be campaigning for Kamala Harris. And if he isn't campaigning for Kamala Harris, then he isn't chilled and frightened, because a frightened person who loves their family does anything they can to actually protect them. So I think it's time to draw a line in the sand and call bullshit on people who say, I'm not voting for Trump, but I can't do it for Harris. If you're not voting for Trump because you're afraid of what he'd do to the rule of law, or you're afraid of what he'd do. I mean, Trump is the reason that there's no immigration bill. Trump is the reason that women are dying in Georgia. Trump is anti-life. Trump is anti-immigration policy.
Wow. Wow. Again, lies, right? Trump is not the reason there is no immigration bill, because the GOP has an immigration bill that is sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk. Again, it's amazing how they never bring it up. Trump is not the reason why women are dying in Georgia, okay, taking abortion pills. That's the real reason why women are dying in Georgia. It's like everything these people say is a lie. But there is some truth, okay, in what Nicole Wallace is saying about Mitt Romney, who is a never Trump Republican, right? He's extremely Trump deranged. And he's one of these people that's basically coming out here and saying, well, I'm not voting for Trump, but he's not endorsing Kamala Harris yet. Okay, I think he's basically trying to essentially thread the needle by saying that, well, as a conservative who hates Trump, right, who's Trump deranged, I can't vote for him, I can't support him, but also I can't come out here and to endorse Kamala Harris with a straight face, because then I wouldn't call myself a conservative, right? I couldn't, sit on this holier than thou mountain of conservatism that the never Trumpers believe they sit on, where they believe that, we're the real conservatives and our party has been hijacked by Trumpism, okay? Except a vast majority of the base support Trump, because we have thoroughly rejected the neocon ideology of the Republican Party that was basically the party before Trump came along. They're just not handling rejection well, okay? And this is why they hate Trump, okay? So basically we have a never Trump civil war, right? You have some never Trump Republicans basically saying, well, I'm going to endorse Kamala Harris and I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris because I hate Trump that bad, right? I'm basically going to abandon conservatism altogether. And then there's some never Trumpers that are saying, okay, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump, but as a conservative, I can't vote for Kamala Harris, right? Or I can't openly endorse Kamala Harris. They probably still will vote for Kamala Harris, especially if they're in a super red state. They might just decide, well, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris just because. But regardless, they're not coming out here and openly endorsing Kamala, okay? And I think Mitt Romney is in that camp as of right now. And that's pissing people off, right? Because as you can see, the never Trumpers and the Democrats are basically saying, no, that's not enough, okay? You can't just come out here and trash Trump. That's not enough. You have to also come out here and to give a full-throated endorsement of the most far-left progressive politician in American history. That's what you have to do, right? Or else, you're the bad guy, right? You are also just as bad as the people that are voting for Trump. That's essentially where they're going with this. Now, Nicole Wallace is rightfully calling out Mitt Romney for the fact that, hey, yeah, if you really feel like Trump is a threat to you and your family, then, to me, that would justify coming out here and endorsing Kamala Harris. But because you're not doing that, clearly you don't actually really feel that way, right? Clearly you don't feel like Trump is actually a threat to you and your family. Okay, it's just a performance, right? You're just basically trying to thread the needle, okay? You're trying to have your cake and eat it too. And she's totally right about that, right? I mean, I got to give her some credit here. Mitt Romney what he's saying is BS, right? You don't believe that Trump is actually a real threat, okay? Because if you did, you wouldn't be sitting on the sidelines. Now, again, does that mean that I want him to come out here and endorse Kamala Harris? No, I don't want him to endorse Kamala Harris, but I'm calling BS on this idea that he legitimately feels afraid that Trump is going to target him and his family. I think that's nonsense.
Trump is anti-Constitution, anti-rule of law. And if you're a Republican who isn't voting for him because you care about any one of those things, it's bullshit if you're not campaigning for Kamala Harris. There's one way to do something about those.
Yeah, so not only do you have to endorse Kamala Harris, you got to campaign for her, right? You got to actively be out there stopping for Kamala Harris like Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney's out here. I mean, she's just going full-blown Democrat. I mean, she's out here trying to take out Ted Cruz, right? In his Texas Senate race. It's really shameful stuff.
Things, if that's what you care about.
So, you know, I'm a progressive Democrat, and I never thought we'd see the day where Dick Cheney is showing more moral courage than Mitt Romney or Joe Manchin. I mean, we're living in wild times right now, but it goes to show that we have so many folks in public life, particularly, you know, white male Republicans and moderates, you know, who are afraid, but not afraid enough. They're concerned about their own reputation and their own brand more than they are concerned about the American people. And the American people, particularly women, the women who are driving this gender gap, will remember that. And I want to go back a little bit to Bernie Moreno in Ohio, because Bernie Moreno is making these wild comments about suburban women and women over 50, et cetera. Meanwhile, he should be worried about more than suburban women. He needs to be worried about moderate and independent and soft Republican men in Ohio, because the abortion measure, the abortion ballot measure last year in Ohio, in an off year, won by 56.6%.
Right.
And it won because independent, some conservatives crossed over to support the issue. So all of these folks, they're out of touch. And I think Sherrod Brown's going to have a lot to say in response, and he's going to have a lot to organize around in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. And we have to sing it. We should go back to Ohio and the state of the Ohio voter, because I was in Ohio and there were lawn signs all over the state. I mean, the amendment was very popular across partisan divides. And that is right now the coalition Kamala Harris is putting together. So I think I hope what Sarah hopes. I hope there's a tectonic thing going on. We'll talk about that more.
Yeah, so again, it's not just enough to have the voters have their say and leave it alone. No, they can't do that. No. They have to try to push it even further, right? Let's get rid of the filibuster and try to convince people that we're going to codify Roe v. Wade into law, even though it's very unlikely to happen. If they did do it, it'd get shot down, okay? And because Kamala Harris said that, because those are the things that she's coming out in support of, you have people like Mitt Romney, who is refusing to endorse her, at least for now. She basically lost the support of Joe Manchin. Kirsten Sinema is also going off for Kamala Harris. I'm not entirely sure how somebody like Liz Cheney tries to justify being a so-called conservative and endorsing that, right? What Kamala Harris is trying to do. But hey, we talk about Trump derangement all the time on this channel and how it causes cognitive impairment. Apparently, Liz Cheney is so cognitively impaired from her severe form of Trump derangement that it basically made her a Democrat, right? Which, again, is, you know, it is what it is, right? If she wants to go and be a Democrat, right? If the Democrats want to be the party of Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, the Adam Kinzingers of the world, fine, right? I'm totally okay with that. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.